What's going on, everybody? So today's story is about a guy who found out his wife was cheating with her boss during work trips she told him were conferences. He didn't yell, he didn't confront, he collected evidence for weeks. Then, on their 10th wedding anniversary, he hosted a dinner party for their closest friends. During his toast, he thanked his wife for teaching him what loyalty looks like. Then he played a voicemail she'd left her affair partner from the night before, on the Bluetooth speaker, in front of 12 people, while the appetizers were still on the table. The room froze. His wife stammered. And he walked out, drove to his attorney's office the next morning, and filed for divorce. This one's cold. Let's get into it. I found proof my wife was cheating with her boss during work conferences. On our 10th anniversary, I played her voicemail to her affair partner on the Bluetooth speaker in front of all our friends. I want to be honest from the start. What I did was calculated. It was planned. It was deliberate. Some people might say it was cruel. I'd argue that the cruelty happened long before the dinner party. It just happened behind closed doors where nobody could see it. All I did was open the doors. My name's Connor. I'm 38. I work as a project estimator for a commercial building firm. I assess job sites, calculate costs, prepare bids. It's detail work. You have to notice things that other people miss. Turns out that skill applies to more than just building specs. My ex-wife, I'll call her Megan, and I were together for 12 years, married for 10. We met at a friend's cookout when we were both 26. She was funny, sharp, ambitious. She worked in pharmaceutical sales at the time, entry level, but motivated. I liked that about her. She wasn't waiting for things to happen. She was making them happen. We had a good run. Early years were the best. That newlywed energy where everything is an adventure. We painted the living room together on a Saturday, and it took 8 hours because we kept getting sidetracked. We adopted Coach from a shelter when he was 11 months old and spent the first week sleeping on the floor with him because he whined at night and neither of us wanted him to feel alone. We went to a New Year's Eve party in 2017 where Megan tripped on the curb outside and twisted her ankle, and I carried her, literally carried her, 4 blocks back to the car, while she laughed so hard she cried. Those are the memories I'm trying to hold on to, because the rest of what I'm about to tell you makes it really hard to remember the good parts. Over the years, Megan climbed. From sales rep to regional manager to director of strategic accounts at a mid-size pharma company. I was proud of her, genuinely. She worked hard, and it showed. The promotions came with more travel, conferences, client meetings, regional summits. By the last few years, she was gone 2 to 4 days a month, sometimes more during conference season. I didn't mind the travel. I trusted her. I handled things at home, kept the house running, walked the dog, a golden retriever named Coach, made sure bills were paid and the lawn was mowed. We didn't have kids, we'd talked about it, but Megan always said, "Not yet," and I didn't push. In hindsight, maybe she knew "not yet" was going to become "not ever." But that's me reading the past with information I didn't have then. Our marriage was fine. That's the honest word. Not passionate, not explosive, just fine. We had our routine. Sunday mornings we'd make breakfast together, eggs, toast, fruit. Wednesday nights were takeout nights. We'd watch a show before bed. We got along. We rarely fought. We were, and this is the part that haunts me, comfortable. Comfortable enough that I stopped paying attention to the cracks. Hold on, this is me, not Connor. I want to flag something early. He said their marriage was fine. He said they were comfortable. And he said he stopped paying attention to the cracks. Those 3 sentences are the prologue to about 60% of the stories on this channel. Fine is the most dangerous word in a marriage. It means nobody's actively unhappy, but nobody's actively connected either. It's the relationship equivalent of an unmonitored pipe. No leaks visible, but the pressure's building. And when the pipe finally bursts, it doesn't drip, it floods. Connor's about to discover just how many cracks were hiding behind fine. And the flood is coming at a dinner party. On their anniversary, with a Bluetooth speaker. Stay with me. The signs were there. I see them now. I didn't see them then. About 8 months before the dinner, Megan started guarding her phone. Not obviously. She didn't change her passcode or keep it face down. She just had it on her more. In the bathroom. In her pocket while cooking. Charging next to the bed instead of on the dresser, where she usually put it. Small shifts. The kind of thing you notice subconsciously, but your brain files under probably nothing. She started dressing differently for work trips. Not dramatically. She always dressed well for work. But there was a new energy to it. A new perfume that appeared around February. She said it was a sample from a conference vendor. She started getting her nails done before travel weeks. She bought new luggage, the nice kind, hard shell. She said the old bags were falling apart. They weren't. I'd checked the zippers 2 months earlier. The work trips themselves changed. They used to follow a pattern. She'd leave Monday or Tuesday, call me every evening from the hotel, and come back Thursday or Friday. But starting around January, the calls got shorter. Some nights she'd text instead of call. Long day, going to crash early, love you. One trip in March, she didn't call at all on Tuesday night. I texted her at 10 p.m. Everything okay? She replied at 7 a.m. Sorry, fell asleep early. Conference was brutal. Miss you. I didn't think anything of it. Conference was brutal. Normal explanation. Normal wife. Normal marriage. Except it wasn't. The discovery happened in April. Not a dramatic confrontation. Not a friend pulling me aside. It was a voicemail. Megan left her phone on the kitchen counter on a Saturday morning. She was in the shower. She always takes long showers on weekends. The phone rang. I glanced at it reflexively. The caller ID said, Harrison, work. I let it go to voicemail. Normal. Harrison was her boss. I'd met him once at a company event. 50-ish, confident, the kind of guy who wears expensive watches and talks about his boat. The phone chimed with the voicemail notification, and because her notifications were set to display a preview on the lock screen, I could see the first line of the transcription. Hey, beautiful. Last night was... I stared at it. My brain did the thing it always does when presented with unexpected data. It tried to find a rational explanation. Maybe it's a wrong number. Maybe the transcription is garbled. Maybe beautiful is just how Harrison talks to everyone. Maybe I'm reading too much into 3 words. I picked up the phone. I pressed play on the voicemail. I listened to the whole thing. It was 22 seconds. And in those 22 seconds, my marriage, my entire understanding of the last 2 to 3 years, collapsed. I'm not going to repeat the voicemail word for word, but I'll tell you what it communicated. Harrison and Megan had been together the night before. A Friday, she'd said she was at a regional planning session, and he was calling to say he'd had an incredible time and couldn't wait to see her again next week at the Dallas conference. The Dallas conference, the one she'd told me about 3 weeks ago. The one she was dreading because it was always so boring. She wasn't dreading it. She was counting down to it. I put the phone back on the counter, exactly where it was. I went to the living room, sat on the couch. Coach came over and put his head on my knee, and I stared at the wall for about 20 minutes. Megan came out of the shower, towel on her head, humming something. She grabbed her phone, glanced at it, and put it in her pocket. She didn't listen to the voicemail in front of me. She waited until she was in the bedroom with the door closed. I could hear her voice through the wall, muffled, soft. The kind of voice people use when they're talking to someone they're not supposed to be talking to. Pause. I need a second. This man just listened to a voicemail from his wife's boss calling her beautiful and referencing a night together, on a day she told him she was at a planning session. And instead of kicking the door open and confronting her, he put the phone back, sat on the couch, and petted his dog. That's not denial. That's data collection. Connor's brain just switched from husband mode to analyst mode. He's not processing emotions right now. He's processing evidence. He noticed the new perfume. He noticed the luggage. He noticed the shorter calls. He noticed the fell asleep early text at 10 p.m. And now the voicemail just connected every dot. The cracks behind fine aren't cracks anymore. They're a demolition pattern. And Connor is about to become both the architect and the wrecking ball. In about 6 weeks. At an anniversary dinner. With a Bluetooth speaker. I spent the next 6 weeks living 2 lives. On the surface, I was the same Connor. Went to work, came home, made dinner, walked Coach, watched shows with Megan, said, I love you at bedtime, kissed her goodbye when she left for work, the whole performance. Underneath, I was building a case. I didn't snoop extensively. I didn't need to. Once you know what you're looking for, the evidence presents itself. Megan went on 2 more work trips during those 6 weeks. Both times, I monitored her phone activity through our shared cloud account. We'd set it up years ago for photo sharing and Find My Phone, and she'd apparently forgotten it existed. I could see when her phone was active, where it was located, and when she connected to different Wi-Fi networks. On the first trip, her phone was at Harrison's home address from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. on a Tuesday. On the second trip, same pattern, different city, different hotel, but her phone moved to a location that wasn't the conference venue between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. I also found the voicemails. She didn't delete them. She saved them. Not deliberately, I think. She just didn't bother clearing her voicemail because she assumed I'd never check it. There were 7 saved voicemails from Harrison spanning 4 months. I listened to all of them, one at a time, in my truck, parked in the garage, with Coach sleeping in the back seat because I couldn't be in the house while I listened. Each voicemail told a piece of the story. They referenced specific trips, specific hotels, inside jokes I didn't understand, plans for future trips, and this is the one that finalized my decision, a voicemail from March, where Harrison said, "I know this is complicated, but I'm not going anywhere. When you're ready, we'll figure out the rest." When you're ready. That implied an endgame. They weren't just having an affair, they were planning a future. My wife was planning a future with another man, while sleeping next to me every night, and saying "love you" before turning off the light. There's one voicemail I haven't mentioned. The last one I found, dated about a week before my discovery. In it, Harrison said something about making this official after the summer. After the summer. My anniversary dinner was in June. He was talking about going public in July or August. They had a timeline. They were going to wait until summer, announce their relationship, and what? Have me find out through a social media post? Through a friend's text? Through Megan sitting me down at the kitchen table and saying, "We need to talk"? I decided they didn't get to control the timeline. I did. That's when I decided what I was going to do. Not a confrontation. Not a quiet exit. Something that everyone would witness. Something that couldn't be denied, explained away, or rewritten. Something public. Something permanent. Our 10th anniversary was June 14th, and I had 6 weeks to plan. I started by booking the dinner. We always celebrated our anniversary with a small gathering. Close friends, good food, our house. This year I told Megan I wanted to make it special. She seemed pleased. She said, "That's sweet, Connor. Let's do it." She didn't suspect a thing. Why would she? I was being the perfect husband. Attentive, thoughtful, planning a beautiful anniversary dinner. Except the dinner wasn't for her. It was for everyone else. It was the audience. I invited 12 people, our 6 closest couple friends, people who'd known us for years, been at our wedding, celebrated birthdays and holidays with us, people who deserved to know the truth, people who Megan would have to face afterward. The planning phase was surprisingly calm. That's the thing about knowing the truth. It removes anxiety. I wasn't guessing anymore. I wasn't suspicious. I wasn't lying awake wondering. I knew. And knowing gave me something that uncertainty never could: control. For the first time in months, I was the one holding the cards. She just didn't know I had any. I set up the dining room myself. No help from Megan. I told her I wanted to surprise her with the setup. She said, "That's so sweet." It was not sweet. It was strategic. Candles. Good plates. The nice silverware we'd gotten as a wedding gift and barely used. I made a playlist for the Bluetooth speaker. The same Bluetooth speaker that would play something very different later in the evening. I ordered catering because I wanted the food to be good. If people were going to witness the end of my marriage, they should at least eat well. The night of the dinner, everything was perfect on the surface. Megan was in a great mood. She wore a blue dress I'd bought her for her birthday. She laughed with friends. She held my hand during appetizers. She looked at me across the table during dinner and mouthed, "I love you." And I mouthed it back. My buddy Jake, who was sitting 2 seats to my left, caught it and smiled. He thought it was sweet. He had no idea what was in my jacket pocket. Nobody did. I sat through that dinner eating filet and roasted potatoes and making small talk about someone's kitchen renovation and someone else's vacation plans, and the whole time I was counting down. Not hours, courses, appetizer, salad, main, dessert, toast. That was the order. And the toast was the last item on the menu, because I'm an excellent performer. I'd been practicing for 6 weeks. After dinner, the toast started. Our friend Jake went first. He made a joke about how Connor and Megan were the couple most likely to outlast a mortgage. Everyone laughed. Then our friend Paige toasted to 10 years of partnership and patience. More laughs, more raised glasses, more warmth. Then it was my turn. I stood up, clinked my glass. The room quieted. 12 faces looking at me. Megan beaming beside me. Coach asleep under the table, oblivious to everything as usual. I thanked everyone for coming. I said something about how 10 years teaches you things about a person, things you don't expect, things that surprise you, things that change you. Standard anniversary stuff. People were nodding. Megan was smiling. Then I said, I want to play something for everyone, something that really captures what the last few months have been like for me. I picked up my phone, connected to the Bluetooth speaker, and I pressed play. Harrison's voice filled the room. 22 seconds. Hey, beautiful. Last night was... Followed by everything else. Every word. Clear as a bell through a speaker that I'd bought for our patio parties, and that was now broadcasting the end of my marriage to 12 of our closest friends. The room didn't react for about 4 seconds. 4 of the longest seconds of my life. The Bluetooth speaker sat on the sideboard, and Harrison's voice filled every corner of the room. Clear, confident, intimate. The voice of a man who had no idea he was being broadcast to an audience of 12 people who were holding forks and wearing nice clothes and sitting at a table with anniversary flowers in the center. The juxtaposition was almost artistic. Romance and ruin side by side. That's how long it takes for a group of adults to process that what they're hearing is not a toast, not a joke, and not part of the celebration. 4 seconds of absolute confused silence. Then Jake's wife, Holly, whispered, "Oh my God." Megan's face went from confusion to recognition to horror in about 2 seconds. She reached for my phone. I pulled it away. The voicemail finished. The room was silent. The Bluetooth speaker sat on the sideboard next to a half-empty bottle of sparkling cider, broadcasting nothing now but the quiet hum of dead air. I looked at Megan. She was shaking. Not with sadness, with the specific tremor of someone whose carefully constructed double life just detonated in public. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. I said, and I'd practiced this quietly in my truck multiple times. That was a voicemail from Harrison, Megan's boss. It was left on her phone on April 12th. There are 6 more. They go back to January. I've been listening to them for 6 weeks. I went through with tonight so that every person who matters to us could hear the truth from the source. Not from me, from him. I set my napkin on the table. I looked around the room. Jake was staring at his plate. Holly had her hand over her mouth. Our friends Dave and Cassie were looking at each other in that way couples do when they're communicating without words. Nobody spoke. I said, I filed for divorce on Wednesday. My attorney is Pete Walsh. If anyone has questions, they can reach him there. I'm going to take Coach for a walk now. You're all welcome to stay and finish dinner. The caterer was expensive. I grabbed Coach's leash from the hook by the door. He woke up, stretched, and followed me outside. The only creature in that room who had no idea what just happened and no opinion about it. We walked around the block twice. It was a warm June evening. The sky was doing that thing where it turns orange and purple at the same time. Coach found a stick and carried it for 3 blocks. When I got back, the house was empty. The friends had gone. Megan was in the bedroom with the door locked. The dining room was exactly as I'd left it. Candles burned low, plates half finished, glasses still full. The Bluetooth speaker was still on the sideboard. Still connected. Still silent. I didn't knock on the bedroom door. I thought about it. I stood in the hallway for maybe a minute, listening. I could hear her crying. Not the performative kind. The real kind. The kind where you can't control the sounds your body makes because the grief is bigger than your ability to manage it. Part of me, a part I don't love but can't deny, felt something when I heard that. Not satisfaction. More like closure. She was finally feeling what I'd been feeling for 6 weeks. Maybe longer. I went to the guest room. Coach followed me and lay at the foot of the bed. I stared at the ceiling for a while. Thought about the 12 years. The good ones and the bad ones, and the last few that were apparently neither, just performances. Both of us performing. Me performing the role of husband who doesn't know. Her performing the role of wife who isn't leaving. I slept better that night than I had in months. Yo, the caterer was expensive. He told them to stay and eat, while his marriage was detonating in real time, while his wife was shaking and speechless, and 12 people were processing the audio evidence of her affair. He said, "Stay and finish dinner." That is the coldest line ever delivered at an anniversary party. It's so cold it should come with a jacket. And then he took Coach for a walk. Coach, the golden retriever, the only innocent party in this story. Walking around the block in the June sunset, while his wife locks herself in a bedroom and their closest friends drive home in stunned silence. Megan planned for conferences. Connor planned for this. And the difference is Connor's plan was honest, brutally, publicly, irreversibly honest. Harrison called her beautiful. Connor called her bluff. I woke up around 6 a.m. The house was quiet. Megan was still in the bedroom. I don't think she slept. I could hear the faint sound of her phone buzzing. Probably texts from friends, maybe from Harrison, maybe from her mom. I didn't care. I showered in the guest bathroom, put on clean clothes, made coffee in the kitchen. The dining room was still set from the night before. The candles had melted down to stubs, the plates were cold, and the Bluetooth speaker was still on the sideboard. I unplugged it and put it in the drawer. Its job was done. Coach and I went for our morning walk. The neighborhood was quiet. Saturday morning. Sprinklers running. A kid across the street was riding a bike in circles in his driveway. Normal life. The world didn't know that a marriage had ended in this house 12 hours ago. And the world didn't need to know. Just the 12 people who were there. And me. And Megan. And Harrison, who would find out soon enough. The next morning, well, technically later that same morning, I drove to Pete Walsh's office. Pete had already filed the divorce paperwork. I'd retained him 2 weeks earlier, quietly, on a lunch break. He'd advised me against the dinner party reveal. He said, "Connor, it's dramatic, and it could complicate the proceedings." I said, "Pete, I'll take the complication. I need every person who knows us to know the truth before she can rewrite it." He nodded and said, "Fair enough. Just don't say anything else to her without consulting me first." Pete was right to be cautious. After the dinner, Megan tried to rewrite the narrative almost immediately. She called friends. She texted. Her version was that I'd ambushed her, that I was controlling and vindictive, and that the situation was more complicated than what he played on a speaker. She didn't deny the affair. She couldn't. They'd all heard Harrison's voice. But she tried to frame the reveal as worse than the betrayal. Like the crime wasn't the cheating, it was getting caught. It didn't work. Our friends had heard it. They'd sat in that room. They'd watched her face. And most of them, not all, but most, quietly distanced themselves from her over the following weeks. Jake texted me the day after and said, "Brother, I don't even know what to say. You have my full support." Dave called and said, "That took more guts than anything I've ever seen. Whatever you need." Cassie, Dave's wife, sent me a casserole. Why do people send casseroles during crises? I don't know, but it was good. Holly, Jake's wife, was the one who surprised me most. She called me about a week after and said, "Connor, I want you to know something. I noticed things about Megan over the last year that I didn't say anything about. The way she talked about Harrison at dinner once. Too casually, too carefully. The way she dressed for trips. I thought about saying something. I didn't, and I'm sorry." I told her it wasn't her fault, because it wasn't. But her honesty meant more to me than any casserole. One more thing about the friends. About a month after the dinner, our friend group had what I can only describe as a choosing sides period. Most people chose me, not because I asked them to, but because the evidence was unambiguous. You can't spin a voicemail. It's not my interpretation. It's his voice. Calling her beautiful. Referencing a night that wasn't supposed to exist. Two couples stayed neutral. They said they didn't want to get involved. Fair enough. One couple, Brad and Nicole, leaned toward Megan. Nicole had been Megan's friend before she was mine, and she told Jake that she thought what Connor did at the dinner was worse than what Megan did with Harrison. Jake told me that. I said, "Nicole's wrong, but she's allowed to be." Life's too short to fight people into understanding something they don't want to understand. If Nicole thinks a 22-second voicemail at a dinner party is worse than a 4-month affair, that's between Nicole and whatever math she's doing in her head. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. No kids, so custody wasn't an issue. The house was sold and proceeds split. Megan kept her car, her clothes, her pharma career, and her relationship with Harrison, which, from what I've heard through mutual friends, became official about 2 months after our divorce was final. They posted a photo on social media, on a boat. Harrison's boat. The one he used to talk about at company events. I saw the photo. I closed the app. I went outside and threw a ball for Coach. Coach doesn't care about boats. Coach cares about balls. Smart dog. Final update. I want to mention one more thing about the aftermath. About 3 months after the divorce, I was at the grocery store. Normal Saturday morning run. Eggs, bread, dog food. I turned into the cereal aisle and there was Harrison. Just standing there, looking at boxes of granola like a man with no larger concerns in the world. He saw me. I saw him. We were about 15 feet apart. He opened his mouth like he was going to say something. I shook my head once, just once, slowly, and I walked away. I didn't need to hear anything from him. There's nothing a man who sleeps with another man's wife can say that's worth the air it takes to deliver. I bought my cereal, the off-brand kind, because some habits from the Megan budget era are hard to break, and went home. Coach was waiting at the door. He doesn't care about Harrison. He doesn't care about boats or voicemails or Bluetooth speakers. He cares about the sound of the pantry door opening because that's where his treats are. I gave him 3. He deserved it. I'm 7 months out from the divorce, living in a rented house closer to work. Nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms, a yard for Coach. I've been on exactly 1 date. It was nice, but I'm not ready. I started going to the gym about a month after the divorce. Not because I'm trying to glow up or whatever, just because I needed somewhere to put the energy. The anger, the sadness, the frustration of replaying every conference call and every fell asleep early text. The gym doesn't fix any of that, but it gives you something to do with your hands while your brain processes it. I go 4 mornings a week now, 5:30 a.m. There's a guy who's always there at the same time. Retired, I think, name's either Frank or Phil. I keep forgetting to ask. We nod at each other. We don't talk. It's the most honest relationship in my life right now. My buddy Jake says I need to get back out there. I told him I'm already out there. I'm out of a marriage that was built on a lie. That's far enough out for now. Pete Walsh sent me his final bill with a note that said, "Connor, I've seen a lot of divorces. Yours was the only one where the Bluetooth speaker was listed as evidence." I laughed at that. It was the first time I'd laughed about any of it. Coach is fine. He's always fine. He doesn't understand what happened, and he doesn't need to. He just needs his walks, his food, and a human who comes home every night. I come home every night now. Nobody's at a conference. Nobody's leaving voicemails I'm not supposed to hear. It's just me and Coach and a house that's quiet for the right reasons. Megan sent me one text after the divorce was finalized. It said, "I hope you find peace, Connor." I stared at that text for about 5 minutes. I typed 3 different responses, deleted all of them. Then I put the phone down and went outside. Coach was lying in the grass, doing that golden retriever thing where they roll onto their back and just exist in the sunshine like the world is a perfect place. I sat down next to him. He put his paw on my leg, and I thought, this is it. This is peace. Not the kind she was wishing for me. The kind that comes wrapped in a greeting card and tied with a bow. The real kind. The messy, earned, hard-fought kind. The kind that smells like grass and dog fur in a June evening with nobody else around. I didn't respond, because I already found it. It just didn't look the way I expected it to. Would you have played the voicemail? Or would you have kept it private? I've been asked this a lot, and my answer is always the same. She kept it private for 4 months. Someone had to make it public. It might as well have been me, at a dinner party, with a Bluetooth speaker and a golden retriever sleeping under the table. Anyway, Connor's wedding anniversary is June 14th. This year it'll be the anniversary of something different. Not a marriage, not a dinner party, just a Tuesday. A regular, quiet, honestly lived Tuesday. And that's good enough. Coach got a bath yesterday. He hates baths. He stands in the tub looking at me with an expression that says, "I thought we were friends." I tell him the same thing every time. We are friends. Friends clean friends. He doesn't buy it, but he looks good afterward, and he knows it because he prances around the house like he's on a runway for about 30 minutes post-bath. That's my Sunday now. Dog baths and bad TV and leftovers from the week. It's not glamorous, but every bit of it is real. Oh, the Bluetooth speaker is still in the kitchen. I kept it, not as a trophy, as a reminder that the truth has a sound, and sometimes you have to turn the volume up. Look, the truth has a sound, and sometimes you have to turn the volume up. That's the line. That's the whole story in one sentence. Megan's affair had a sound. It was whispered. Connor's response had a sound. It was amplified. And every person in that room heard the difference. Some people say the dinner party was too much, that he should have handled it privately. But here's the thing. Affairs thrive in private. They survive because of silence. Connor ended the silence with a 22-second voicemail and a Bluetooth speaker. And the affair, the lies, the fake conferences, the love you at bedtime, it couldn't survive in public. Because lies can't breathe in open air. Only the truth can. And Connor let it breathe. Here's my take. Megan had 4 months to tell the truth. 4 months where she could have come clean, asked for forgiveness, or at least given Connor the dignity of knowing what was happening in his own marriage. She chose silence. She chose conferences. She chose Harrison's boat. So Connor chose a Bluetooth speaker and 12 witnesses. That's not cruelty. That's symmetry. She played it in private. He played it in public. Both of them used speakers. Hers was whispered. His was amplified. Drop a comment. Speaker or silence? What would you have done? Subscribe and I'll catch you next time.